All right, this is going to be another preview of the Ravens-Jets game, and it's really just a primer on the basic elements of the Ravens pass game. To be honest with you, there's a lot that's not going to be covered. I'm going to cover what I think is the core or most effective pass play that the Ravens have had in the last three. We're really since Greg Roman's been the offensive coordinator. It should be quite obvious to anyone who's watched the Ravens a lot. I'll show why it works with a basic explanation. I'll show some of the counters the Ravens have tried to use to the way teams have defended them. I'll name the teams that defended the concept well: the Titans, the Bills. We all know who they are. The Bengals in 2021, obviously. And then talk about some of the ways the Ravens attack certain coverages and some of the throws Lamar Jackson has made that have been underrated or really not talked about a whole lot. In case you're interested, the graphic that's on the screen right now is made by someone that's really going to be a blessing to my channel. I'll name the person when he is comfortable with me doing so, but was able to make contact with me and put together a graphic that is obviously incredibly high level compared to what I'm able to produce. So with that being said, let's look at the film, and we're going to check out why does the Ravens base pass play work. Well, in order for me to illustrate that, I've got to show you the run game. All right, so these are two option run plays where the running back is in the pistol, set behind the quarterback, in this case Lamar, and there's a mesh between the quarterback and the running back, and we either hand it off or keep it. On the first one against the Patriots, he kept it for like a 22-yard gain, I think. On the second one here, he keeps it, to the edge. He gets what's called a keep read, but you can see what's happening is linebackers are moving forward. There's a linebacker there, number 54. They're moving forward. They're coming forward because they have a run fake. If it's a pass play, in this case it's not a fake, it's an actual mesh between the quarterback and the tailback with a possibility of the ball being handed off. So what does that set up? Play action. What we're going to call the over concept, which is typically what the Ravens have used a lot of. Mark Andrews is the main guy who's the beneficiary. You can see a really amazing catch, a ball that Lamar probably threw a little bit too far to Mark Andrews' right to Lamar's left. But why does it work? Well, it gets linebackers and second-level people working to one side with the flow, and then allows Mark Andrews to work over the top of them. The way it was explained to me the first time someone explained the over concept is that it's a route that goes over the second level and underneath of the third level of the defense. So you can see Mark Andrews is running against the grain of the run. It's a mesh concept, to be honest with you, and Mark Andrews is running over the top of that. Over concepts or over routes are not always going to be on top of a mesh concept, like, for example, this next play. But that's been an element that's been in the Ravens offense for 3 years. Here it is, 2021. Andrews is up to the top side. Again, play fake to the running back. Andrews beats Derwin James. I think Derwin James actually thought he had help to the downside of the screen here. But you've got Ricard working across what looks like possibly F counter with the back, but there's not really a mesh. And then Andrews, anytime Mark Andrews is lined up tight to the right tackle, you can expect that route there. The route tree is quite simple when he's in that location, probably within 4 yards. You're also looking at seam routes, or what some people call a lube route. I'll show one of those in a moment. And then also, occasionally you'll get an out route. Occasionally you'll get a whip route, or, I call it China out. In this case, Derwin James expects help to the other side. I still think he's got to play this a little bit better. Ravens, the way they use the over concept oftentimes is the same exact way they attack cover 3, and I'll show that to you in a minute. The downside receiver, or the guy at the bottom of the screen here for us, he runs a shorter route. What does that do? It tries to occupy this defender here with that short route, opening up the space for Mark Andrews to throw it, again, over the top of the coverage. Hopefully I explained that concept in a way that makes sense. If you have a different way to explain it that's possibly better than mine, let me know and go ahead and put it in the comments section. But there you go, route concept that Mark Andrews has benefited from. Ravens have used for at least 3 years at this point. Andrews up at the top of the screen, a little bit of a different variation on the over concept. As usual, when you get our play action, you're going to get motion from left to right. In this case, it was from Nick Boyle. All that does is tie into or play into the play action fake. Now, the inside linebackers for the Chiefs do a great job. Your attention is going to be focused on the throw. most likely. And the way the safeties close on this, just because of my background in coaching, my attention is on these guys and how they turn their back and run once they've got a wrong read. And in my opinion, that is just as big of a factor in this throw as these two safeties closing. And by the way, this is a great throw. I think you'll agree. It's in Mark Andrews. Maybe it's 6 to 8 inches off. But watch these linebackers forcing Lamar to throw the ball over the top of them. There's that word again. This isn't an over route. They've got a wrong read. So your job when you get a wrong read is turn your hip. Compare this linebacker to this one, 53. And even Matthew. They're turning and running because they understand the concept is designed to get them to move forward and be unable to impact the play. They're forcing Lamar to throw the ball over the top of them, and the safeties are able to close on it. I recognize that it's incomplete pass. Still think it's an instructive throw. Denver, week 4, 2021, another over concept. I believe you're going to get left to right motion by Pat Ricard this time. The previous play, it was Nick Boyle. Play action. He beats Simmons. He's being held on the play, by the way. 2 plays earlier, Simmons had defended it well and made a big deal of it. I think that's why you get a little bit of a reaction from Mark Andrews there. But at this point, you've got Simmons manned up on Andrews. The Broncos tried this combo coverage often in that game, whereby Simmons was freed up to go ahead and run with Andrews. They play a lot of half field or split field coverages. There's really no coverage that's going to shut it down for real, especially the way that Mark Andrews is allowed to read it. All right. Invert cover 2. Some people call it drop cover 2. So these two safeties are 2 high safeties right now. Watch what they do post snap or once the ball is snapped. They're going to come downhill. What they're trying to do is, A, create a 9-man front against the run. Now, even though Mark Andrews is not on the field here, all right, just so you know, I don't believe that this may be him down here at the bottom side. The resolution isn't great. No matter who it is, they're trying to take away this over route. And I'm going to show you, I think, 2 examples later on here in this video of other players besides Mark Andrews running the over concept and it being completed passes. So they're trying to take that away. That is Andrews, in fact. As soon as I said it wasn't him, I realized that it probably was. So they're trying to take away that over concept. Lamar under center looks pretty smooth. Is able to complete a post over the top of the safety level because they've spun down. End zone angle, I'll replay it a couple of times so you can see it. Not a great play action fake, to be honest with you, but it gets the job done. I think they had some kind of tell here or something that they were going to get this in. I call it invert cover 2. Some people call it drop cover 2. Great throw. Very small margin for error, even though the safeties had dropped down. I suspect that they were doing that to try to take away Mark Andrews running the over route. He's going to be here running the over route again. Colts going to have this really cool coverage variation where they're going to drop one safety to the middle of the field, and then these 2 are going to drop back. So essentially they're playing a version of Tampa 2, except instead of using the Mike linebacker as the low hole player, they're using another safety who's dropped down. I'm going to illustrate that one more time before we go to the end zone angle. So Tampa 2, you're going to get 2 high safety, corners that are in the flat, and then this guy's dropping down, taking what would be the low hole area or high hole area, between the hashes essentially. But the NFL hashes are so close together, it's really an area protruding to the right and to the left of the hashes. When you get the end zone angle, you'll see how unbelievable of a throw this is. The narrative at one point in time. People that have these narratives about Lamar Jackson and NFL quarterbacks in general, they almost remind me of like bizarro Dr. Seuss books where they come up with some crazy or weird thing that they believe is based on analytics one year, and then the numbers totally go against that the following year, but that narrative still persists somehow. I believe Lamar Jackson was ranked extremely high on passes outside the numbers in 2021. This is one of them that, like, where does this fit? Is this a throw outside the numbers? Well, no, I guess. There's the bottom of the 40. Is this a throw in the middle of the field? Not really. If it's the thirds, I mean, this is kind of like in a seam area that I call this the seam. In between like the top of the numbers and about halfway from the top of the numbers to the hash, or bottom of the numbers, excuse me, to halfway between the top of the numbers and the hash. I misspoke there. But how does this count in his passing statistics, in his passing summaries? I don't care. I don't care whether it's middle of the field, whether it's the bottom of the numbers or whatever. It's a great throw that's near the top or the bottom of the numbers. And if people want to say, "Oh, he doesn't complete passes outside the numbers," they just haven't watched enough film. I have, and that's why I can argue so vehemently against that narrative. Ridiculous play from 2020. It was originally supposed to be an over concept whereby Nick Boyle, the point man, is running the under. Andrews is, I think, getting an outside release and then running, some people call it a post. I would still say it's an over concept. We would call it an over-under concept, where you've got the under route here, designed to pull someone from the second level, and then Andrews going over top of them. Doesn't work out that way. There's pressure in Lamar's face, and he makes one of the most unbelievable throws that I've rarely heard talk about, but I've now put in videos like 4 times on this channel. I think so highly of it. He's moving to his left. I've always said he reminds me of a Major League Baseball shortstop because of his ability to throw and get his hips and chest moving in the direction he's supposed to throw. Hopefully you can see what I mean here. I know the video resolution is bad, but you got the right hip clearly pointing that way. Left hip is maybe a little bit canted back down towards the bottom left of the screen, but pretty closely, parallel to the line of scrimmage. And then chest and face mask and everything is pointed here, ready to throw the ball, just like, at least me personally, I was taught to throw, playing middle infield in baseball. Amazing throw. Not talked about enough, if you ask me. So let's move on a little bit to another concept. Again, this is not going to be exhaustive, and there's going to be one player who's not going to be shown here because I'm going to do a standalone video on Rashad Bateman, and I'm not going to add another 6 or 8 minutes to this video that some people aren't going to watch anyway. I'm going to do a standalone video on Rashad Bateman. I think he's going to have a huge impact in 2022. If you're not a Ravens fan and you didn't watch the games intently last year, it's okay for you to be misinformed. I'll try to inform you with a standalone Rashad Bateman video. Okay, seam comeback stuff. Again, I think you're getting him in between what I call the seam, or we call the seam, the bottom of the numbers, to an area halfway between the top of the numbers and the hash. Conversely, anything from halfway there to halfway there, we call the middle of the field. We were a cover 3 team generally. We expected our free safety to be able to cover a wide swath of the field in our cover 3. We also played our corners, pretty far away from the sideline. You could get away with that in high school football. You couldn't get away with it in the NFL. All right, so that was an example of a seam throw. Outside the numbers, I kind of went on a rant a couple of minutes ago about that. Here you go. Marquise Brown, top of the screen, 2021, I think week 8 against the Vikings. A great throw. This is a drive I think the Ravens used to go down and win the game in overtime. I could be wrong. Play action to Le'Veon Bell. A spectacular throw, if you ask me. Marquise Brown, great catch. Not a contested catch, I know. Another one, this is down to Sammy Watkins late in the game against the Steelers. Game that the Ravens obviously lost on the failed 2-point conversion attempt to Marquise Andrews. Just a bullet. That's a laser. I don't know, I have heard people, maybe not recently, talk about arm strength for Lamar Jackson. I don't know what they're watching. That's a bullet. Yeah, it's to the boundary. It's from the near side hash. I understand that. It's still a bullet. It's a great throw. That particular out route, you got to throw it hard. And I think he's got the arm to do it. Outside the numbers, clearly, that would be, inside of 7 yards from the sideline, which is a difficult throw for anybody. I shouldn't say difficult, challenging throw. This one is really unique, if you ask me. He's got Sammy Watkins working on Patrick Surtain Jr., who the Ravens really took advantage of in this Week 4 game. For real, Devin Duvernay, Sammy Watkins, multiple guys had their way with him. As Watkins brings this route back in, I'm going to pause it, and you'll see Lamar and him kind of make an adjustment to just throw this into the open space down here toward the sideline. Strong throw from the other hash, as opposed to the one I just showed you, which was from the near hash. Conceptually, if you're a Jets fan or even a Dolphins fan or anybody, trying to project, how to stop Lamar Jackson, yeah, you want to try to force him to throw outside the numbers because you want to take away Mark Andrews as best you can. The Titans, 2020 playoff game, trying to be physical with Andrews, and the tight split by Marquise Brown, and he also improved his manner of running this route, Previously, he had run this route really close to the sideline, giving, when I say previously, in previous weeks leading up to this, I did Ravens film breakdowns back then as well. He had run this route too close to the sideline. I'm kind of incapable of drawing the route any further down to the bottom side of the screen. He had ran it too close to the sideline, not giving Lamar any ability to throw it to the outside shoulder. In this case, he runs it near the seam or the top of the numbers, giving Lamar that whole space from the bottom of the numbers to the sideline to fit this throw onto. One more look from the end zone angle. Hopefully you appreciate this. This is not exhaustive. There's a lot of spread concepts that I haven't included here. Some of them will be covered in the Rashad Bateman video. Some of them just will not. If you're trying to look at the Ravens offense and want to recognize things pre-snap, it's really personnel-based for real. Here you've got an example of 13 personnel against the Titans in the 2019 playoff loss. It was very disappointing for Ravens fans, obviously. Mark Andrews operating here from the slot. Great catch from the far hash. Great throw, from the far hash. You can see Lamar's feet here. Pretty far throw with the safety closing down on him. So capable of making throws anywhere in the field. I don't buy into the narrative at all that he can't make throws outside the numbers, that he can't make throws deep in the middle of the field. I showed you, I think the second or third play was a fantastic throw to Mark Andrews. There was another one against Arizona in 2019 that I didn't show. I remember these plays because I cut them up. And I put them into the online database. That's why I remember them. It's not like I remember them because there's only been 3 of them ever. There's another great throw to Marquise Brown, against a too high safety look. Clearly, ball could have been caught. Maybe the ball is 3 inches too far thrown towards the sideline. Last aspect of this, Ravens attack cover 3 using what I would say is a climb route. Some people still call it an over route. Marquise Brown going to run this type route. Actually, he kind of brings us a little bit more to the sideline. My apologies. And what they do is they go 3 by 1. In this case, they put Andrews backside. Doesn't really matter who they put backside. What they're trying to do is run a short route. Sometimes it's a stop. Sometimes it's an out. And they're trying to occupy this corner and then, just like the over concept, throw over the top of that corner in the cover 3. Now, you may say, well, Coach, that's not cover 3. Well, that's correct. Most cover 3 teams, most single high safety teams, are going to play their backside of 3 by 1 formations as man. So if you're not unsure of what I mean, if you're not interested in formations, like I don't really know what you're interested in. There's the number 1 receiver, I think is Watkins. There's the number 2 receiver, which is Brown. And then the number 3 receiver is Ricard. Again, he's going to motion. I think pass pro here. This corner, because it's a 3 by 1 formation, right? Andrews is the number 1 receiver down here. Because it's a 3 by 1 formation, they probably made a lock or a Louis or a Maryland or whatever their call is to tell him to play man. Conceptually, the rest of these guys are going to play cover 3. The only exception would be either the Sam or the strong safety, possibly playing man if he gets a release to the man side of the coverage by the running back. It makes sense, hopefully. So you got cover 3 to one side, man to the other. In this case, KJ Wright expands, probably looking for Ricard. KJ Wright and the corner are both held by Andrews, and they throw in this thing over the top of that corner to Marquise Brown. Climb concept against cover 3. Same thing here. You got trips 1, 2, 3 to the bottom side, and then I think this is Ricard up here as the tight end. He's going to occupy this corner. And it's an unbelievable throw. This one wasn't talked about enough. Out of all the things that Lamar did in that game, which some of them were amazing, this was probably one of them that stood out to me. They got Watkins singled up against the linebacker. Why? Because the corner is up here guarding Ricard, and KJ Wright is guarding the running back, like I just illustrated to you on the last play. So what they've done is they've made a Maryland or a Louis or whatever call on the backside. Ricard's going to pass pro, go out into the flats. This corner's going to cover him. Running back, slide out into the flats. KJ Wright, the Sam linebacker, is manned up on him. What it does is it isolates the backside inside linebacker, in this case number 44, who doesn't play it that horrible for real. Isolates him on Sammy Watkins. Earlier in the game, the Ravens had run the same concept with Mark Andrews as the number 3 receiver, and he was covered very well by a different linebacker, to be honest with you. In this case, they inverted it, put Sammy Watkins in there to get a faster guy. Lamar takes advantage of it, makes a great throw. The free safety is held by the number 2 receiver vertical. Point being, the Ravens are really good at attacking cover 3. I established that in the video like maybe a week and a half ago. I don't think the Ravens are as good at attacking 2 high safety looks for real. So if the Jets play a lot of 2 high safety looks, which I suspect they will, they're putting themselves in a good position, to be honest with you, to kind of slow down this Ravens pass game. Secondary point there is if the Jets are able to slow down the run game out of a 2 high safety look, then they're really putting the Ravens offense in a bind because they're taking away the over concept. Presumably the linebackers aren't biting on the play action as much if the run game isn't working, number one. Number two, I don't think that our offensive staff has shown as precise and focused pass concepts to attack quarters and split field coverages like the Bills and the Bengals play, to be honest with you. They have shown, particularly in this Raiders game and others, the ability to attack cover 3 or single high safety looks with specific concepts like the climb concept I just showed you. This wasn't comprehensive. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If there's anything in the breakdown that you didn't like or any elements that I missed, please let me know in the comment section. Appreciate you guys, checking out the premiere, number one. And if you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the channel and maybe sharing on social media to help increase the reach of my videos. Thanks for you guys' time.